It's Sunday morning on Ancient Inheritance here in the States, and we're getting ready to push deeper into Floor 4. Here is the final map for Floor number 4. I'll have this linked in the description, as well as the map that has our pathing on it, should you want a reference. Now before we jump into the floor, we'll go ahead and collect the rewards, get the experience for dropping Scorpetra yesterday. 691, good chunk of experience. Now that warden is not my warden. I'm on the blue team, so I need to take that mana lift up to the northern island to go after my target. We've got 66 provisions though, and it'll probably be tomorrow before we drop all of the wardens and converge on the priests, so I'm going to wander around and get a little bit of loot. Now, according to my map, there's a relic shrine there to the right. Before I collect the relic shrine, you should always check your relic status. Make sure you have room for one. I know I do, but we'll go ahead and take a peek anyway. So I've got food provisions that can be replaced and a 4-leaf clover that can be replaced. So I've got plenty of room for relics. Hopefully we get a good one. Hey, it's the gold kettle. Golden kettle on floor 4 is awesome. That gives me an additional 160 shards when I open chests. That will make looting treasure chests just that much more rewarding. So we'll just replace one of these random ones here. And I still have room for another relic. I don't really need the EXP, so I'll leave that book for somebody else, and I'll slide up here and grab this scroll. And there it is, ladies and gentlemen, the worst scroll in Ancient Inheritance. I don't know why this one's even in the game. None of these rewards are worth the punishment they dish out. I mean, 3 gold transmit stones to lower a class by random level. Wasting 3 provisions on 2. I'm just going to top right out and not take any of these. Well, according to the map, there's another relic shrine over to the right, so let's go ahead and fill that last relic spot. Oh, well, because I leveled up, I went ahead and got another relic spot, so I can take this one and one other. Okay, 16 provisions will let me push deeper. Vitality Brew is limited use. I tell you what, I take the provisions here, but I regret it later. The huge EXP from battles for 5 battles would have been great for me. But I grabbed provisions because I was worried that I wouldn't have enough to make it to the warden. But I plan on killing that Achates there just to the north 3 times, so I could have really used that huge EXP boost. So a little disappointed in my choice here at the end. And for a scroll, I got level 12 warriors, so that's perfect. Speaking of level 12 warriors, before I fight these monsters here, I should level my warriors. I forgot to do it. I went up a level, so I could have raised my warriors up 1 more level. Forgot to do it, but I get it off screen for the next fight. The warden I have to fight, I believe, is an ML warden, is the blind Eye Lich, so I'm just going to take RGB units. I could do this with just 1 healer, I think, but I want to play it safe. So I'm just taking a DPS and a couple of healers, since I won't need any of these for fighting the warden.
For the goddess.
So something you should know about for the normal monster fights, they're designed to be easy. They're designed for you to be able to 2 or 3 man them, sometimes even 1 man them if you've got a really good self-sustaining unit. But you can see every time Luna takes an action, one of these Achates goes away. And look how hard she hits this guy right here. Only 30% of its health in 1 hit, so you don't need to take a full team of 4 units in, you just need to take a handful. Now, if you overestimate yourself and you go in and you lose, that's okay. If you lose a normal fight, you don't lose any of the units. You can try again with the exact same units, and you only lose a percentage of the stamina needed to use the fight, and it's such a small percentage, you never lose more than 1 stamina. losing the fight, so, or one provision I should say. So it's totally worth going in with a minimum run and seeing if you can pull it off. For example, I'll take Amelia, who's not a great healer, and Cermia, who can only kill one thing at a time, and see how this fight goes, because if it fails, I can just try again and throw an additional support unit. Yeah, so Cermia is one-shotting things once her greater attack buff is up. Her EE gave me an extra hit there, so I'm clearing even faster. So let's see how hard she hits this guy with an S3. Almost one-shot it, so yeah, one more hit and that thing will be down. So there you go, two-man team. Now you can see I got 642 experience. I probably would have been getting about 12 or 1300 per fight if I had had the EXP boosting item from that last Relic Shrine, but it is what it is. The 16 provisions will let me push a little bit deeper, so I'm not going to complain too much about it. Okay, so I don't want to use my ML units. I want to save those for the Warden, since the Blind Eye Lich, you need to take only light and dark units if you, or you suffer a pretty big penalty to attack speed and health. I probably only need one of these girls, but I like that Alencia has the defense break, and I like that Lilibet cycles so fast. I mean, heck, with Destina as my healer, I really only needed one. The reason I'm using two DPS units here is it's my last fight. After this, I do the Warden, and then I'm done for the day, so everybody will come back to life, so taking 3 units just speeds it along a little bit. Now, when faced with a choice whether or not to open a chest or do a normal monster fight, you gotta ask yourself what you need the most. The chests have slightly more currency, the fights have significantly more experience points but cost you units. So if you're still trying to level your units, I recommend the fights, and if you're just doing raw looting at the end, then treasure chests will get you the most currency for the shop. After the 3rd kill, that monster is dead. No one else will be able to fight it, so once it's gone for everybody. I've got 40 provisions left. We'll slide to the right here and grab that book, maybe a chest along the way. And I've got 24 provisions left, so I'll go ahead and fight the Lich one time, or the Warden I should say, one time, and then I'll be ready to teleport to the Priest Island. And it's not a Blind Eye Lich, it's a Cold Eye Lich. Okay, so I goofed. I used up all of my green units. Thankfully, I still have 4 left, and they're decent. I really would have liked Lilibet for this fight a little bit more than Zahaak, but we will go ahead and run him. Green lots. You know, this is actually a decent team. It's not ideal, but double check what you're going up against before you waste your units. I should have done that, thinking I was fighting the fight that needed ML units, and really I was about to fight the fight that needed green units. So I'll put lots on Doctor's Bag to boost his healing and give him a source of cleanse. Zahaak I just have on a damage artifact. Euphine I just have on a damage artifact, and Mercenary Helga, since she's on a rage set, I've got her on a damage artifact as well. So that gives me 2 sources of defense break, 2 sources of attack buff, and decent healing, so this team ought to do okay. Now, your passives are sealed in the Lich fight, so you don't want to use units that rely on passives. For example, Alencia, her double tap relies off Mind's Eye, that's considered a passive, so she won't get it. So units that don't use passives are great. So Zahaak actually works well, so does Lilibet, neither of them rely on passives. You would think a lot of Helga's skills are locked behind passives, but they're actually part of her skill tree, and her specialty change skill tree is not considered a passive. Anything that's in there will be in effect for this. Euphine's got defense breaks on her S1, and her S3 hits pretty hard, so I think she'll be a decent choice. We'll have Helga attack buff everybody, and lots being able to push units from all the way in the back will let me capitalize on those defense breaks a lot better.
I'll show you the dragon's power.
Okay, her S2 is an extra attack if I soul burn. And it boosts attack. Okay, yeah, so just S3 for maximum damage. And we get 93k off of a single hit. That's not bad at all.
You ready to get hit?
So it's a 1-turn defense break. I'll use the S2 to push up, extend it to a 2-turn defense break. Yufine's S1 does a lot more damage than her S2 because, you know, single target versus AoE. So I don't see any reason to use Yufine's S2 unless you're soul burning it. Tempted to soul burn Zahaak for the extra damage, but I want to see what Yufine's soul burn looks like.
Let's see who's strong.
Unfortunately, I lost the attack buff, so I'll go ahead and stall around.
Wanna get started?
Got the defense break back. I'll push Yufine up. She's still not going to have the attack boost, but I'll go ahead and soul burn just to see what the damage looks like. Ugh, 18k. Okay, so yeah, her S2 is kind of garbage, but it does self-attack buffer, which lets her S3 go off with an attack buff for the full damage. Nice little dual attack there. Zahaak's S2 does have a CR push in it. I'm going to push Helga mostly so that she gets the attack buff. She is on a rage set, she is a warrior, so even though she's a support unit, she does pretty good damage here. Zahaak's S3 racks up another 85k damage. I'll use the S2 because it's got a CR push and that will keep the Lich from cutting my Yufine.
Don't look down on me.
Extend the defense break, push Yufine, she gets an attack off. And the Lich strips the nice regen buff I had on everybody. But Lot's skills cycle quite fast, so we can put that back up. I kind of wonder if Prophetic Candlestick might have been a better artifact for Lots. I bet it would have. Constantly cycling his S2 and his S3, and with him in the front, yeah. When you run this fight, you may want to consider Prophetic Candlestick instead of Doctor's Bag. I think it'll pay off for you. Now that we've got the rhythm of the fight down, I'm going to go ahead and speed it up. The biggest issue is as the fight goes on, the Lich gets stackable defense penetration, speed, and attack, so eventually he starts chipping through our units. Green Lots was the first to die, being on the front row. And then we lost Helga, and we're only maybe 1 or 2 hits away from dying here, but 1.5 million when I wasn't expecting to go into a fight that needed green units, so I'm pretty happy with that. Think I could have pushed a little bit deeper with Lilibet, but that's not bad at all. Now I'm tempted to go over and do that normal monster fight, but I want to save the provisions so that I can get up on the northern island and make my way forward just a little bit more so that Monday we can start working on the priest. After we've killed the priest for the first time, we'll split left and right, go get those guild chests and the last of the mini bosses, and after that it's maybe 1 or 2 days of looting. Hey, speaking of loot, let's go ahead and roll that gear. So I have just enough currency to buy the last piece from the shop. So I've got a couple of pieces to roll. Oh, by the way, you can kill the priest multiple times if you weren't aware. So it's worth it to return and spam kill the priest. Once all the looting is done, you have nothing else to do. So let's see if we can get a good Alencia piece out of this. We start out with a decent mid-tier health roll. We take that. I think that's a minimum roll into crit damage, but at least it's into crit damage and not into speed or crit chance, which I don't really need for my Alencia. Ooh, a minimum speed roll. Not thrilled about that. Okay, that's a minimum health roll. 3 minimums in a row. It's all I've been doing is rolling minimum on these gears. Big number. Ugh, okay, a minimum crit chance. 4 minimum rolls and 1 mid roll. It's still 68 gear score, but that is a really lackluster piece. These pieces are hard to mess up other than not rolling well, and that did not roll well at all. So maybe the sword will do a little bit better. Okay, we start out with a minimum roll into speed, a mid roll into health. We got a 4 speed that time. That's decent. That's a mid roll for speed. Another mid roll into health. Oh, we need a big one for this last roll. And a minimum roll into crit chance. That's still 70 gear score, but man, you have to actually put in effort to get 70 gear score or lower on these pieces. My Ancient Inheritance gear has not rolled well. It's not bricked, but it's not rolled in a way that's better than anything I already have. So hopefully your gear rolls a lot better than mine. Injury's such a niche use anyway that you really want the pieces to be improvements or usable for your kit. Anyway, it is what it is. Well, that'll be all for today's video. I hope it was helpful to you and that the comps maybe give you some good ideas for how to tackle your fights. If you have any questions, ask them in the comments section, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a great rest of your weekend, everybody.